Welcome back, everybody. We're going to start chapter 3 out with some review. We're going to start with factoring quadratic functions. So in the note page that you have, it talks about all of the steps that you can take for factoring. We're going to talk about a few different methods between our video notes and then our classroom, and also talk about how your graphing calculator can help you with finding your factors. But the biggest thing is to always make sure you start with checking for a greatest common factor. If you can do that first, it's going to help you out quite a bit in the long run. So we're going to start with the very first example, x squared plus 9x plus 8. Remember, this is A, this is B, and this is C. The A, even though it's not there, is a 1. So we'll check, is there a greatest common factor besides 1 between 1, 9, and 8? 1 isn't going to reduce our numbers any, so we really want to work with other numbers besides 1, and there isn't. So my next step is to take the 1 times the 8, which is 8. Now, I need two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to the middle term 9. So multiply to 8, but add to 9. So our factors of 8 are 4 and 2, or 8 and 1. If I add 4 plus 2, I get 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. So 8 and 1 are the two factors that we're going to use to start factoring our problem. We're going to start with the factoring by grouping method. So we're going to bring down the x squared, and we're using 8 and 1 for our two factors. This is a positive 8, so positive 8x, and a positive 1, which is a positive 1x, and then we bring down that 8 at the end. Now, why do we have the x's with our 8 and our 1? Well, it's because 8x plus 1x make the 9x that we're looking for. Once I have these four terms, we're going to split this in half. I'm going to start with the greatest common factor on the left side right here. What's the greatest common factor between x squared and 8x? It's x. What's left when we pull out or divide both of these by x? We had two x's. We're pulling one out, so we're left with x plus these x's reduce out to 8. Whatever this sign is here is the very next thing that we're going to write. If it's a plus, then we write plus. If it's a minus, then we write minus. So what is the greatest common factor between 1x and 8? And in this case, because we're using factoring by grouping, even if it's a 1, we still have to consider that and pull it out. So our greatest common factor is 1. Remember, that means we're dividing both of those by 1. So 1x divided by 1 is x, and 8 divided by 1 is 8. So how we know that we've done our factoring correctly so far is that these two parentheses are exactly identical. Positive x plus 8 in both of those. That also means that one of our answers is x plus 8. The other answer are the common factors that we pulled out in front of those parentheses. So going from left to right, we have x plus 1. And this is factored form. You can always use foiling to check your answer, and I encourage you to do that. Remember, foiling first outside, inside last, or a fancy way of saying distributing. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 1 is 8. combine these like terms, and we have x squared plus 9x plus 8. So we know we've done our factoring correctly. Our second example, we have c squared minus 10c plus 16. So we're again going to check and see. There's a 1 here for our a. Is there any common factor overall between 1, 10, and 16 that I can reduce all three of those by to make them smaller? And the answer to that is no. So we're going to do 1 times 16 is 16. So we need factors of 16 that add to negative 10. Remember, factors are the two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to 10. So I have 16 and 1, 8 and 2, or 4 and 4. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so we're going to have to do that because of the negative 10. Negative 16 plus negative 1 is negative 17, so that's not going to work. Negative 8 plus negative 2 is negative 10, and so this is the set of factors that we're looking for. So we have negative 8 and negative 2. Now we're going to continue with our factoring by grouping, so we drop down the c squared minus 8x minus 2x plus 16. Split that exactly in half down the middle, and we start on the left. Oops, I'm going to apologize. I changed the c's to x's. Let me go ahead and fix that. Okay, our common factor on this left side is going to be c. So we're pulling out c. C squared divided by c is c, minus 8 divided by c is 8. Now remember, this next part always starts with whatever that sign is, and right now it's a negative. So the greatest common factor between 2 and 16 is 2. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1c, and positive 16 divided by the negative 2 is negative 8. Again, double check to make sure that these parentheses are exactly the same. That's how you know you've done your factoring correctly, and they are. So that means that our answer is c minus 8, and then again, the stuff that we pulled out on the outsides going from left to right, which is c minus 2. So that is factored form. Z squared plus 2z minus 24. So again, I'm putting a 1 there. Is there an overall greatest common factor that we can reduce by? No. 1 times negative 24 is negative 24. So we need two numbers that multiply to negative 24, but add to positive 2. So because we're multiplying by a negative, we know they have to be opposite signs. So 24 and 1, 12 and 2, maybe make the smaller ones negative here. And let's see, we have 8 times negative 3, 6 times negative 4. Well, 6 times negative 4 is negative 24, and 6 plus negative 4 is positive 2. So we're going to do a positive 6 and a negative 4. So I'm going to drop down the z squared. It's a positive 6z, negative 4z, and then minus 24. We're going to split that in half. Our common factor on the left side over here is going to be z. When we divide z squared by z, we get z plus divide 6z by z, 6. The next part starts with subtraction, so that's the next thing we write. The common factor between 4 and 24 is 4. Remember, we're dividing this right side by negative 4. So negative 4z divided by negative 4 is z. Negative 24 divided by negative 4 is positive 6. So here we are. We know that we're on the right track because of the z plus 6. And then the stuff that we pulled out from the beginning, going from left to right, is z minus 4. And this is factored form. Let's jump